Hey y'all, this is Lee Clay. I am a 52-year-old man who enjoys quiet walks on the beach and the stars. And oh, wait a minute. This is not farmersonly.com, is it? No, it's not. I am a old man, at least getting right there at it. And I decided that I would try my hand at this video YouTube thing. And I know that sounds like some kind of old fart speech, but that's what it is. So basically, for a good while, I've done my thoughts and devotions and Bible studies and stuff like that that I typed up on Facebook. And I decided that what I was going to try was doing some of these videos and see how it worked out. Today's video is going to kind of be my first one. So obviously, it's going to be nothing fancy. None of my videos are going to be fancy. More than likely what it's going to be is me walking up and down the driveway, showing y'all different woodworking projects that I have, showing you scriptural truths that I find, and just talking about life. I find that a lot of times, if we just have a different perspective, maybe you're just struggling with the truth in life, or something that's happening, or something you're going through. And if you just had somebody to throw some kind of truth out there that made sense, it makes things a little bit easier. So I'm going to try my hand at it. As all the people say on YouTube, please subscribe and like and leave a comment, because evidently from what I've learned, it helps with some kind of algorithm or something, and it boosts things up. And honestly, I'm a retired fireman. I worked for DeKalb County, Georgia, for a whole bunch of years, and I'm enjoying retirement. But I could always use a little extra money. So if we could make this into a monetized kind of thing, that would be very helpful. Right now, I do woodworking, and I enjoy doing my woodworking. Matter of fact, one of the things I'm going to show you today is a project that I just finished up for a client. And ignore my garage; it's a mess. I've been working like crazy, and hadn't had time to clean it up. But this is the project. Now, God actually showed me something that really stuck out to me, and this is the project. It's one of those wavy American flags that are made out of wood, and 2x4s actually. And this is what I did. So you can see the waves in it. You can see the way the light reflects off of it. Now, speaking truthfully, the way I did this one is not normal for how I normally do my flags. Normally my wavy flags, and I'm about to hit some sunlight, so I apologize if there's a glare. Normally my American flags, I'll mark out how I want the waves to go, and then I will use my bandsaw and cut out the waves, if you will, and then sand it and get it all smooth. And then I'll go back and paint the red and the Union, and get it just perfect the way that I want it. I'm sorry, I had to come back up here and get my cheat sheet. So on this one, I saw something on Facebook, and it kind of jumped out to me. I thought, well, I want to give this a shot and see how it turns out. And if you'll go back and look at the video of the way the flag was made, you'll see that there's a couple of spots where there looks like some really, where I really dug into it, and I did. So normally, like I said, I'll use my clamps and I'll clamp it together, and I'll mark where I want my waves to go. And once I'm finished with that, then I'll use my bandsaw and go back and cut out the waves and then sand it. Well, I didn't do that this time. This time, I ended up taking a chainsaw, of all things, and I cut out my waves with the chainsaw, and it didn't go as smoothly as I normally do. You can see the definitive lines where it looks like it dug into it. And I almost scrapped it and threw it away, but the more I sanded on it, the more pretty it came. And the more I worked on it, and then as I started getting paint on it and I started getting the stars on it, it really started looking pretty. And, you know, the more I thought about it, the more I got to looking at it, and I said, well, when a flag is waving in the wind, sometimes it has some very defined crimps where it crimps out and it looks different. And I thought, well, I'll just leave it. And the more I sanded on it, the more pretty it became. And I sanded some more and did some more. I know I'm rambling on now. I'll be honest, my first video, I'm kind of rambling. But so then all of a sudden I started getting polyurethane on it. And man, it just really popped. And it looked so pretty. And I kept it the way it was. And I'm glad I did, because not every flag is supposed to look the same. Not everything that I do for woodworking is going to look exactly like the one before it. And that's part of the fun of woodworking, is as you cut things and you start putting the paint on and you do sanding and you do all these kind of things, every one of them looks different in their own way, and they look beautiful in their own way. And so that's kind of how I ended it with this flag. Was I thought, wow, golly, that's just beautiful. And I like it, and I'm going to leave it. But it got me to thinking about the Sunday school lesson we did yesterday. And it was on Moses. And it really turned out to be a great life lesson, especially with this flag. So if you will remember, I mean, everybody who's been to Sunday school has heard about Moses at some point. So the king decided there was too many Hebrews, that one day they might revolt and beat him and take over his kingdom, right? So he said, I want every Hebrew boy to be killed. Well, his mama didn't see fit that was a good thing. So she put him in this little canoe looking thing. She wrapped him up and scooted him out in the water, knowing that the king's daughter goes down there to bathe, wash clothes, and all that kind of stuff. Well, she shoved old Moses out in that water, and sure enough, the king's daughter, perfect, hey, imagine that, happened to be down there washing that day, and she saw the baby, and she knew it was a Hebrew baby, and she came back and she told her dad that she wanted to raise this baby as her own, because she thought it was such a wonderful baby, and it was a beautiful baby. Well, it ended up being that one of her maids worked for her, and went back and said, hey, if you would like, I know somebody who just had a baby. They could nurse your baby for you. Well, it turns out, of course, it's Moses' mama. And so through giving her baby away, God was able to use her to raise this baby. She was able to teach it about her culture, about the Jewish people and how they lived and how the God that they loved. And then eventually one day, Moses saw one of the Hebrews getting beat. And he couldn't take it, knowing that was one of his people. And he went over and killed the guy. The king, he was enraged that he killed one of the Egyptians. So Moses took off running. He goes out in the desert. And you can only imagine what it must have been like for Moses as he went out in the desert and he's worried to death about what's going to happen. He finds this whale and he sees these two ladies, and ended up, long story short, watering their sheep. And they go back and they tell their father, Jethro, about this guy and the good deed he did for him. And he said, what are you doing? Bring him back. Put him here at the house. And so, long story short, he ended up living there at Jethro's house. And he ended up marrying Jethro's daughter. And he ended up raising Jethro's sheep. And you might be sitting here going, well, Lee, why you tell me this stuff? What does that have to do with this flag that you did? Well, here's what it's got to do. So, God was teaching Moses something. Everything in his life led him to a certain place. And if you did Sunday school at all, you know about Moses and what Moses did. Pharaoh, let my people go, right? And the plagues and all that stuff. But God couldn't just bring Moses from being under Pharaoh's roof and lead his people out from under Pharaoh's command, right? There had to be things, because Moses wouldn't have took it very well. He'd have been like, what are you talking about? Let my people go. I don't understand this. He had to bring him to a certain place. And he had to develop skills in him that only God can do. If you think about the privilege that he lived under Pharaoh's roof, he got privilege, but he learned about life. He learned about skills. He learned about, honestly, I've never been rich, so I don't know what it was like, what he would have been like. I can only imagine. But he learned things growing up in Pharaoh's house. He had protection, for one thing. And so then he comes out of Pharaoh's house and he lives in the desert for 40 years. I mean, I don't know about y'all, I'm 52 years old. He lived in the desert for 40 years. That's crazy. How do you go from living in a palace to being in a desert for 40 years? That's crazy. But there's things that God had to teach Moses during that desert period that only God can teach. He taught him how to be a leader. He taught him how to conserve things. He taught him how to feed something and take care of it. All kinds of things that he taught Moses. And then he finally got to the place where he said, Moses, it's time for you to go get my people. And Moses is like, whoa, wait a minute. What? Well, here he is standing before this burning bush and God's voice is coming out of it. Can you only imagine how crazy that sounds in the first place? But then God says, I want you to go rescue my people. And he said, his exact words were, who am I? Who am I that I go do this? I'm a nobody. I'm an outcast from a people that was my family. I'm a shepherd who stinks and probably don't take a bath that often. Who am I? And what do I tell them when I do go? I mean, they ain't going to believe me. Who am I? But God had other plans. And here's what God told him to tell his people. My cheat sheet. Exodus 3:14-15 said, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord God, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. The name you shall call me from generation to generation. It's not just a nickname. It's not just an afterthought. It is God's name that only his people will know him by. And you might be asking yourself, Lee, you're rambling. What does this have to do with that flag? Well, that passage says, you will know me by my name from generation to generation. Guys, that's us. That is us. We are the generation to generation. We know God by his name. We know God by his actions. So what does that have to do with that flag? Well, it's very simple. When I started making this flag, I glued it together. I had to let it dry. Well, life happens, as you know, and my work got disrupted, and it took what normally I would have put it on the clamps one day and then the next day started actually working on it. It was 3 or 4 days before I got to work on it. And then once I did, I did the chainsaw, and I got frustrated with that. The more I worked on it, it finally started coming together, and then life interrupted again. And I couldn't sand on it, so I sanded on it. And then I was able to paint on it. I was able to put the stripes. And I was able to do the union. But then my stars wasn't ready. I don't paint. The first flag I ever did, I painted on by hand. But after that, I got smart and realized that that's a lot of work. So I went and got vinyl stars. Well, it took forever for the vinyl stars to get to me. You get the idea. It took time. Not time that I normally would spend. And I've already expressed to you that I was frustrated with how the chainsaw did my waves, and I was frustrated all around that I was interrupted in work and things just wasn't going the way that I wanted it to. But there was a plan the whole time. And when I came back to the flag and I got my stars and I got them on there, well, there was one star in particular that just wasn't sticking. And I ended up having to put a little bit of super glue on it to get it to stick. And when I went to pull it away, one little corner of the star broke off. One little tip of the corner broke off. I was so mad. I was ready to kick the dog and wreck the truck. I mean, I was mad. As you can imagine, we've all been there, right? But then I'm getting ready to put polyurethane on it. And there was a couple of cracks started showing up. Now, the reason that woodworkers use good quality wood that's been cured out for the way or kilned the way it's supposed to is you dry it out slowly, because if you don't, it'll crack. And that's why woodworkers don't use dimensional lumber like from Home Depot, lumber like 2x4s very often, is because it does have a tendency to crack and to warp and to bow and to cup. And so, of course, what happened to my flag, I started seeing little cracks show up in it. I was like, dadgummit. So I used this epoxy glue and I filled those cracks so that maybe I could head it off, because I knew once I sealed it, I should be okay. So I put the glue down in there and the glue expanded and rose up out of the cracks. So now I've got little dried puddles of glue up out of my cracks. And I'm like, dadgummit, these are in the white part of the thing and I can't cover it up with paint. It's supposed to look natural. So now I got to sand. I got to go back and sand it. I've already got the red stripes painted, so I've got to do it between the stripes. And I'll just be honest, I messed up the red stripes. I ended up sanding over into the red stripes. I got so mad. There again, I wanted to kick the dog and push the house over and all the things that you know you do when you get mad and aggravated. And I sanded, and finally I ended up sanding all the red off, just having to re-sand and repaint everything. And finally I got polyurethane on it and everything got done. And as you saw, the flag looked fine. It turned out pretty. But it took a lot of work to get there. That's why I showed you the flag. Life is no different, guys. Just like Moses, God has a plan for your life. He has a direction He's taking you. And I know that normally as 16, 17, 18-year-olds, even 25-year-olds, you've got a direction that you want your life to go. And it just ain't working out the way that you want it to. I guarantee you, sitting in the palace, Moses had no clue that he was going to be living in the desert for 40 years. He had no clue that he was going to be the leader of a nation. He had no clue where his life was going to take him. But I guarantee you, he didn't picture it taking him the way that it went. We do the same thing. We get mad at God. We get mad at life. We want to kick the dog and drown the cat and all those kind of things whenever life don't go the way we want it to. But if we'll just trust Him, like Moses did, and remember that His name is I Am. To me, the reason that's significant is He is everything that I need in every moment, in every situation that I go through. Do I need a healer? He's the great physician. I am. Do I need help because of depression? I am your help. Am I struggling financially? I am. He is what we need at every moment in our lives. And He has a plan of where we're going and where He's leading us. We just have to trust Him. And as we grow in our faith and we grow in life, that's not always easy. But if we'll just trust him, when we step back and we look at what he's doing to our lives, it's going to be like that flag. It just took a little bit of sanding and a little bit of patience that I didn't have and a little bit of time. And the flag turned out beautiful. And so will you. So if you're struggling right now with life, let's say you don't know him as your father. You can. Trust him. Just trust him. Accept him into your life. But if you are a believer and you're still struggling, sometimes it takes these reminders for us to remember that God is so much more than just some graybeard grandpa sitting in the sky that gives us what we want when we want it. Sometimes his direction hurts. Sometimes his correction hurts. But if we trust him, our lives will always turn out the way that he had planned. Guys, I'm going to start doing more of these, probably 2 or 3 a week. I would love for you to go through this journey with me. I ain't going to guarantee I'll always be perfect on doing them. I'm probably going to sound pretty goofy at times, but I want to be real with you. I want to show you that somebody loves you. And just know, I may not know your name, but I'm praying for you. You're on my heart. And every time when I do my devotions in the morning, I'm going to say a prayer for whoever is watching these videos. And I pray that it finds you in God's graces, that it finds you in the path he wants you in, and it finds you in his arms. Have a great day.